Improvising by ourselves at home alone can be very, very difficult. We don't know what to work on. We don't really know if we're doing it right. Have no fear. I got you covered in today's podcast lesson. Welcome to the Jazz Piano School Podcast, episode number 368. Welcome to the Jazz Piano School Podcast. My name is Brendan Lowe, and if you've ever felt stuck trying to learn jazz piano from a million different sources, this show is definitely for you. Each week, I break things down step by step to help you play with more freedom, more confidence, and a whole lot more swing. Everything I share here ties back to the system that I created and that we use inside the Jazz Piano School membership. So if you're ready for more structure and progress, I'll tell you how to check that out at the end of this episode. And hey, if you're enjoying this kind of real-world guidance, make sure to hit follow or subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. All right, welcome to the Jazz Piano School Podcast, episode number 368. My name is Brendan Lowe. I'm your host as always. I broke off my original natural script, so I paused there. Creator and founder of jazzpianoschool.com. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. I'm excited about the summer. I'm excited about this podcast episode, this lesson you guys are here. It's a play-along. It's a play-along for improv. So I highly recommend you save this episode, right? I think you can heart this or download it. Download the episode. Definitely subscribe to the podcast because I'm going to be doing a lot more play-alongs. I did a play-along a couple weeks ago. I'm going to rotate these around like once a month. I did a blues left-hand comping play-along, and this is going to be an improv play-along. So this is going to be really, really awesome because it's over the tune Satin Doll. I love this tune. I love classics, too. I love classic tunes. And I'm going to be teaching you a lot of improv knowledge. And the greatest thing about this podcast lesson is that I'm going to be demonstrating and playing with you. So I'm going to be demonstrating and improvising with you. We're going to trade. I'm going to give you ideas. I'm going to give you textures. I'm going to give you direction. I'm going to give you guidance. But also at the same time, I'm going to let you I'm going to open the gates for you to do your thing, right? So that you can explore your own voice and the tools that I'm giving you and teaching you. It's going to be awesome. So I'm really, really excited about this. Improv is difficult. It's very, very difficult. And I think, I think jazz education misses the mark on improv a lot, especially because students, including myself, when I was young, we just don't know what we don't know. And in the beginning, I craved reliable, solid advice, like for improvisation. Like I was really into the how, like how does this sound get created? Why? Why does this get created? How do I produce a sound through certain notes on the piano, and I really didn't have that. A lot of what was taught to me wasn't really taught. It was just like, here is great improv, like through transcriptions. My teachers would hand me transcriptions, or I would see notated solos on YouTube, stuff like that. Obviously books. I would see exercises in books. I'd read a lot of exercises, but nothing really explained to me. Like, it was not like, okay, when you play these notes, why does it sound good? Like, here's what you want to do with this grouping of notes. Here's what you want to do with this grouping of notes. And here's how you can combine these two groupings of notes. And here's how you can put it together over a 5-1. And here's how you can put it together over a 2-5-1. Now, if you use these notes, you're going to get this sound. If you use these notes, you're going to get this sound. And here's how to produce that famous sound that Oscar has. Here's how to produce that amazing sound that Red Garland has when he improvises, right? No one really said that. I mean, are you getting that? Sure, they have transcriptions that have like deep dives into analysis and things like that. But I really craved a simple structural approach from an educator that was able to just kind of lay it out for me and be very just, I don't know, like beginnerish. Like I wanted just some small Lego building blocks. Just like tell me what to do and I'll do it. But it was really like, watch me play this. Okay, now you go experiment, listen a lot, transcribe. It was just a lot of general advice. Now, it really irked me. Like it really bothered me. And so this is why a lot of my improv education is very step by step, and it probably to a fault, because I tend to sway to more of a scientific teaching standpoint. Now, I don't really play like that I'm much more of a free, not free jazz player, but like I'm not thinking that much. I'm really feeling more when I play, and I could do more education. I think I'm going to move more into that around the feelings and vibes. I know I'm going to do that for a comping and voicing podcast, but I can do that more for an improvisational podcast as well. But that really should come later, right? And there's a lot of things. Now, when I say later, I just mean there's musical ideas that you can totally apply, and I'm going to show you how to do that inside this lesson. The musical ideas you can apply to beginning ideas will drastically change the way your sound sounds. So rhythms, dynamics, space, holds, a lot of notes, a little notes, different types of contrasting textures, the high end of the piano, the low end of the piano, octaves, dyads, triads. All of those textures, colors, and shapes really lend to the full developmental spectrum of creating a solo. And when it's laid out for you in simple terms in a sequential curriculum that's kind of like a step-by-step path and system to follow, it's very, very easy. And it's not like I don't have data and proof for this, since for running jazz piano school for over 10 years. I mean, I've seen students go from literally nothing to so much, like being so great at improv using this, and it's it was one of my goals to create that. So I'm very excited. Obviously, I love sharing this information on the podcast. I'm very excited to share it with you today. It is what the Improvisation Mastery Specialty course is all about inside of Jazz Piano School and all of the improvisation education that I teach. But I really know you're going to enjoy this. Again, save it. We're going to be going back and forth. Pull up the tune Satin Doll. You will see the changes if you're watching the video on my YouTube channel of the changes. But if you're just using this as an audio track, you'll want to obviously pull up Satin Doll. We're just doing it in the original key of C, and we will go back and forth trading. Don't forget to pick up my free resource I just created. I've gotten amazing feedback. It's very thorough, very dense. It really highlights so many different learning paths on what tools and structures and systems you need to practice to accomplish certain goals in your jazz piano performance. And it's very laid out structurally. Go to jazzpianoschool.com/roadmap to get that free resource. So with that being said, let's dive in. Let's do some improv. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to start by analyzing this tune for you so you kind of have some idea what to do. Now, first of all, there's a lot of chord changes. So let's break this down in a very simple way. If we take the key center of this tune, Satin Doll, it's in the key of C right here in iRoll Pro. Now, obviously, you may be playing it in different keys, but we're going to be playing in the key of C. Now, key of C. Very easy, all white notes, right? So the first two measures with this 2-5-1 here, D minor 7 to G7. By the way, the piano, just so you know, this is middle C here. I've shifted the keyboard over so that you can see my right hand improv, right? So just to let you know. But we have this D minor 7 going to G7, D minor 7 to G7. So that's just a 2-5 in the key of C. Now, if you're a beginner, you can totally just think all chord tones, or you can think about the C major scale, but I really encourage you to try to think about the connections between the chord tones. So you can think C major for the first 2 bars. You can think C blues scale for the first 2 bars. Here's my C minor blues scale, or C blues scale, excuse me. 1, flat 3, 4, sharp 4, 5, flat 7, 1, back down. We can also think of some other blues scales. I don't want to kind of overwhelm you right now, but again, you could use, if you do know these, you can use the major 6 blues scale with the 6 here, major 6. You can also use a full major blues scale. So anything really C related for those first 2 bars. Now, the next 2 bars, 3 and 4, even though this E minor 7 is in the key of C technically, it does go to an A7. So these are really like 2 5s in the key of D. So we actually go to kind of the key of D, and this is really the way that I like to approach this. So now we have our D major scale. It's the same thing. It's just transposed up a whole step, right? And you'll hear that. So we have this first, and then we go up a whole step. Then we go to the key of G, right? So the A minor 7 to D7 is more like a G, key of G. A flat to D flat, as you might have guessed it, is moving down by a whole step as well. So that's going to be G flat. Now Now, again, a lot of this might be overwhelming to so many of you. That's okay. I'm really going to help you with this. So if you're a beginner, just focus on the key centers. Just think about the major scales associated, like with your key of G. Just try to move around your G major scale, and that's going to sound decent. When you go to the A flat to D flat 7, just try to move around your G flat major scale. Now, obviously, if you're a beginner, you're probably already learning that knowing your major scales is so important to improvisation because of this fact. When you really don't know much, the easiest thing you can do is move around your major scales. And if you don't know your major scales, well, then you're definitely going to have to learn them for improv, right? When we get back to the first ending here, we have a C major 7, F7, E, A, right? So that's just a 1, 4, 3, 6, bringing us back to the 2. Now, again, you can totally think pretty much all C major here. When you do get to the F7, you might have to change a couple notes, but if you are a beginner, I would try to recommend soloing with the chord tones in the chord. For example, if you're playing C major 7, you'd solo with those 4 chord tones there. When you're playing over F7, you'd solo with those 4 chord tones, so on and so forth. Now, the bridge is quite easy. We go to G minor, C7, G minor, C7, F. Okay, that's just a 2-5, 2-5 in the key of F. So you can think all F major scale. Again, if you are more intermediate or advanced, you can play bebop lines. Right? So in the second line there, it's literally, I'm going to give you all exercises depending upon your wow, I can't think of the name, your level. Man, I had a brain short circuit there. Depending upon your level, you can choose what types of improvisation components you want to use and then work with me as well, right? Based off of what I'm playing. So the 2-5 here in G, that'll be your G major scale, right? And then we have the same thing for the last A section that just repeats. So we're going to start so simple, okay? We're going to start at a very, very slow swing, 88 BPM. 88 BPM. And what we're going to do here is we're going to trade off every 4 bars to start, every 4 bars, okay, to make this super simple. So I'm going to play the first 4 bars. You're going to play the second 4 bars. Now, again, you can make this as simple as you want, So I'm going to run up and down the chord scales just for you one time, just to recap the key centers. So we have the key of C. I'm going to play just the C major scale. Right, there's my C major scale that goes over the first 2 bars. Then we have our D major scale. Then we have our G major scale. Then we have our G flat major scale. Then we have our C major scale. Now on the bridge, we have our F major scale. Right, then we have our G major scale. And then it's just the rest of the same thing, okay? So let's start with chord tones. All I'm going to use is chord tones now, but remember, think about rhythms, okay? We're going to focus on this later. Think about being melodic. Think about space. Think about textures. Think about how you play. Are you playing short, long? What register are you playing in? I'm only going to stay in this register here so you can see what I'm playing, but feel free to use the entire piano. Please use your entire piano. That's what it's there for, right? Use the low register, use the high register. All right, here we go. I'm going to play for the first 4 bars, and you're going to play. Listen to the way I play. Try to build your ideas off it. We're just using chord tones. We're going to go through the whole tune right now. Here we go. You're going to hear 4 beats, and then we're going to be in. Nice and easy, right? Motif repeating. Now I'm going to do the same thing. Space. And you go. Oh, wait. I just screwed that up. That's my bad. Okay, I don't want to restart this entire video. So I played 8 bars. Why don't we start with 8 bars? That's entirely my fault. I apologize, okay? I was so into the solo, I was like, oh, I'm playing right over top of you. Let's do 8 bars at a time, okay? So that way you have a little bit more breathing room. I'm going to let you start this time, and then I'll go. And just pay attention to the repeat there, okay? Here we go. You're going to start, and then I'll do the second 8 bars. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and go. Okay, move keys. Leave space. Chord tones, right? You're still going here. Nice. All right, now I'm going to take over. I'm going to give you some more ideas here, right? Right, just 2 notes. 5, 1, 5, 1. 5, 1, 5, 1. I'm going to do the same thing here. Same thing. Okay, now you, F, key of F. Good. Now we're going to move to the key of G. 2, 3, 4, key of G, G major scale, or chord tones, right? Didn't really talk about that G7, but here we go. Rhythmic motifs. Okay, great. Let me stop this. So, how'd you do there, right? Was that difficult? Was that easy? Were you able to use some of the variations I was playing? And again, like the stuff that I was playing was super, super simple. You should really try to aim for that and strive for simplicity, but locked into the groove. Make sure you're locked in to the swing feel. And I'm so sorry. The G7 is going to need this F natural. We're no longer in the key of G there anymore on that G7 chord, right? This dominant chord is from the key of C. So we do need that G natural in there. And again, if you are thinking chord tones, that would happen there. Let's actually trade every 4 bars now, like I first had intended. And we will go through every 4 bars. I'm going to go first. I'm still going to keep it simple. Now, if you learned what I was doing, like I was using 2 notes at the most, 2 to 3 notes, repeating my phrases, leaving space, making them small ideas that someone could sing back. That's what's going to sound best in improv, okay? I'm still going to just use chord tones. We're not even getting ahead of ourselves, right? And I really encourage you, if you think you got your chord tones mastered, great. That's okay. No one's above using chord tones, right? This practice is amazing for even its super advanced players, okay? So here we go. I'm just going to use chord tones. I'm going to go 4. You're going to go 4. That way it gives us a chance to play over some different progressions. Here we go. Me first. Repeat. Same thing, but up a whole step. Okay, now you, and go. You got the hard part, I'm sorry. Now I'm going to think, yes, still chord tones. Okay, you. Now, up until this point, I've been doing like rhythmic stuff. Check this out. I'm going to do some holds. Right? Do you see that? Way different. Now you try. Okay, I'll do the same thing here. You? All right, awesome. So, literally, you have to learn your chord tones because chord tones are really the first step to bringing out the sound of the tune. Like clearly you can hear the sound, you can hear the tune, Satin Doll. If someone were to listen to me solo, or hopefully you too, they'd be like, oh, they're soloing over Satin Doll, right? Even if there wasn't even a bass player there, they could probably hear the movements in my solo because I'm using chord tones. All right, just a quick break. If you've ever wondered what to actually focus on when learning jazz piano, I've got something just for you. I recently just created a free jazz piano learning roadmap that breaks your journey down into 3 clear goals. Number 1, if you have the desire to play with other musicians. Number 2, wanting to learn how to play solo piano. And number 3, wanting to get better at improv. For each goal, you'll see the exact tools, exercises, and systems you need to master without getting lost in YouTube spirals or random lessons. Now, it's totally free, and it'll help you stop guessing and finally know exactly what to practice, but more importantly, why you're practicing those tools. Just head over to jazzpianoschool.com/roadmap or click the link in the show notes to grab it. Back to the episode. Now let's start to make this a little bit higher level. I'm going to start to use more connection. So I'm going to use more connections between my chord tones. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm just going to use my key center to connect my chord tones. So if I'm on a chord tone of F over the D minor 7, I'm just going to go up and down the major scale to connect my chord tones. That's how we connect them. And using scalar motion is like the glue between our chord tones. We don't always want to play skips. We need some steps in there for fluidity. We need to actually connect our chord tones together to get some nice, beautiful, fluid motion happening. It doesn't have to be that long, but just even up and down. I couldn't even do that before because all the chord tones have breaks in them. So we have to have a little bit of scalar motion or connection or steps in our improv to make it sound good. So this is going to be the next task here. Why don't you, no, I'll start this time so I can give you a little bit of a demo. Okay, here we go. So we're going to use scalar motion now. You can still use your chord tones, but you do want to try to connect them within the key centers that I originally taught you previously. All right, here we go. I'm still landing on chord tones when I get to the key. So I'm landing on this 3rd, 5, 3. Okay, now you go. Great, so I'm going to start on the 7 here. 3, 7, 3, right? 7, 3, 7, 3. Now you. Great, now even though I'm trying to connect my chord tones, I'm still trying to land on chord tones for the chords I'm playing over. You? And this G7 chord, don't forget the F natural. See, there's my 3rd. 3rd. You? All right, great. Awesome. So how did that go for you? Was that a little bit more difficult? Like this, obviously now, because we're connecting chord tones, what do you need to know? You need an extra tool here. Before, the only tool you needed previously was knowing your chord tones. But now, since we're required to connect our chord tones, we need to know the scales that connect our chord tones together. And this is why learning your word that makes so many students happy because they don't know why they have to do this. Your modes tell you how to connect your chord tones. And that's why it's so important that you learn your scales and your modes, because otherwise you're not going to be using the correct notes to connect your chord tones. And it's so vital and important to make improv sound good. Now, clearly I wasn't just running up and down scales, right? And that's what so many students think when they hear scales. Like, why do we need our scales? Do we just use our scales up and down for improv? No. The scales literally help me move up and down to get some motion in between my chord tones. That's what they're really for. Okay, so I'm going to go a little bit more with my motion. I was really only using kind of 3 notes at a time. I'll use a little bit more. I'll use some more scalar motion, but I'm still going to use steps because we need a balance of skips and steps in our improv to make it sound good. I'll say that one more time and you should write this down. You need a balance of skips and steps. Skips are like thirds in your improv, and steps are going to be, whole steps and half steps. Okay, skips and steps is what really makes improv sound good. Let's try it again. Let's try a little bit more fluidity in motion with our scalar motion, but still add those skips in. Here we go. I'll start. Okay, you? Great. I'm going to go up this time. So I'm starting on the root. Root. Third. Okay, you. Let's do some different rhythms now. Maybe I'll try some triplet rhythms, right? So I added some triplets in there. Triplet, right? You? Okay, I'm going to do some skips into some steps. Steps up, skips, steps up. You? Great. All right. So, again, a little bit more fluidity, more motion. Are you able to see this? Yes, you are. Okay, great. A little bit more fluidity, more motion, right? I was using more scalar motion. You could clearly how there was more movement, more sweeping movement, with my scalar motion, but I still had steps in there. We still want to balance those steps. So what happens now is once you really get this down and you can do this well over all tunes, you've just learned essentially the basic fundamental level of creating intriguing and interesting solos using your chord tones with scalar motion. That's really the first underlying step to kind of just learning any type of improv, blues, bebop, or even modern improvisational language, okay? So from here, we can branch into 3 different categories. Now, I'm going to essentially only cover category of the blues and bebop right now. Okay, so I'm just going to cover blues and bebop. I'll do another modern thing later. But this tune really, really lends itself to blues and bebop. So that's why I'm going to choose those 2 topics now. So let's change our approach, right? I would highly recommend everything we just did. You want to practice this for a month. Okay, like a month, every single day. Get great at doing this over every single tune. Be able to play killer solos with just those 2 tools. Your chord tones, right? Your scalar motion, and then skips, a balance of skips and steps, right? So if I go to change this tune, I'm just going to go to a random tune in iRoll Pro right now. Let me see. A Fine Romance. Let's do a Foggy Day. I can play over this just using those 2 tools like clockwork, right? If I put this up to, again, you really want to try to get to at least 120. At least 120. So if I do this here, check it out. Skips, steps, skips. All right, you get the picture. So I wasn't using any blues. I wasn't using any modern. I wasn't using any altered scales, any half-whole scales, any whole tone scales, any bebop approaches, right? The only 2 tools I was using over that demonstration was my chord tones and my scalar motion with the chord scales, right? Now, why did it sound good? I had musicality elements added into that. Musicality elements added into that. What are those? I had rhythms. I had different triplet rhythms. I had some 16th notes. I had space. I had accents. It's the way that I'm playing and utilizing my tools that makes it sound so good. And if you can spend more time working on those types of simple concepts with simple tools, your improv sound is going to skyrocket. You don't need advanced stuff, as I just demonstrated. I'm not even using my left hand yet to support my right hand with some really cool harmonies, some thick chords, right? In different extensions. I'm not even using my left hand, right? So what I just demonstrated is really what you should strive for as your level bass, your like improv bass. I'm going to go to the blues next. Let's talk about the blues. So based on our key centers, we're going to want to use those blues scales. So for the first two bars, we have the key of what? The key of what? Key of C, right? So I'm going to use my blues scale in the key of C. Now, measures 3 and 4, we have what key? Key of D, right? Right? So I'm going to use my blues scale there. Then we go to the G blues scale here. Oops, sorry. Okay, and then we continue on. G flat blues scale. Now, what I want you to do, actually, I don't want you to use all blues. Because that's going to sound blues scale, blues scale, blues scale, blues scale. Right? Really what I want you to do is just use a combination of kind of what we just did, skips and steps, and then maybe a little bit blues, maybe some more blues, maybe some skips, right? And then into, again, maybe some more skips and steps. So I want to hear a balance out of it because this is what's going to sound good. If you're just playing like blues scale in one key, blues scale in the next key, that's not going to really sound good. So we'll trade again. I'm going to let you guys go first because this way you'll get to play over a different progression and I'll take the second progression. Okay. So you're going to go first. You can clearly listen to me and then we'll just kind of go from there. Here we go. And you. Okay, I'm going to play some blues here. Okay, you. Again, this isn't blues, right? And you. So this will be your F blues because you're in the key of F. F blues, right? Okay, now I'm going to the key of G. So I'm going to use my G blues. This is my G major, a full major blues. And then I'm back to the C blues. Okay, you. Me? Okay, so that was probably tricky. I understand that. That was probably tricky. First of all, you need to know a lot of blues scales. You need to know a lot of blues scales and a lot of different keys, right? Key of C, key of D, key of F, and you need to be able to switch back and forth between them. Now, also, just thinking about the blues scale, that's probably hard enough, but trying to balance between chord tones and scalar motion and skips and steps and the blues scale, already you're getting into a lot of different tools and styles. I get it, but I'm just giving you a sample of the way you can do this. And playing blues, right? It sounds a little strange, just constant blues over this bebop tune. So from a stylistic standpoint, you really do want to sprinkle the blues in. Sprinkle it in, right? Like little spices here and there, okay? So if I'm playing this, I might play maybe a little blues here. Then back to my maybe blues here. Maybe bebop here, or chord tones and steps. Blues. Right? So again, you're sprinkling little bits in. You're not just like all blues. You're just like little small ideas of blues, okay? Let's try it one more time. I'm going to let you go first again. Or let's switch it up so that you can we'll switch the progression. I'll go first and then you go, okay? Here we go. So I'm going to start with major 6 blues scale. Here's my major 6. Okay, G blues. Maybe some skips or steps here. And then back to C blues. C blues here. Right? Okay. Here's my full major blues scale. Right? I'm sliding into these thirds. Okay, G for you, G blues. And key of G flat. Right? And back to C. Okay, so I'm going to have the key of F now. So you can clearly hear that blues. G blues for you. G blues. Now we're going to C blues. C blues here over that 5 chord of the key of C. Right? I'm going to use some octaves. Right? You? Cool. All right, great. Now there's so much you can do with the blues. I mean, there's so much I wasn't doing. Dyads, right? Octaves, I got into octaves. Right? There's so many different textures and things you can use with every single tool, but let's move on. So what we're going to get into next is some bebop approaches. We did blues. Now we're going to go to bebop approaches. So my bebop approach... Right? If you don't know your bebop approaches, please just trade with me however you want. But if you do know some of your bebop approaches, you can start to use them. So the best and easiest way to do this is to start them with your line. So when I go to start over this, I might start with a bebop approach. Space. Then I'm going to plan for another bebop approach. Right? So I went double chromatic into the third of the E minor 7. When I started, I did chord scale above, half step below. These are also known as enclosures, also known as, some people call them side steps. I really like the terminology bebop approach though, because they approach. The purpose of these is to approach the chord tone. It's not to enclose the chord tone. They do that. By definition, they enclose a chord tone, but they really approach the chord tone because you're going from a bebop approach into the chord tone. Your goal is to land on a chord tone after you use the bebop approach. You're not just enclosing it, because I can enclose a chord tone and then not go to it. That's going to sound weird, but we really need to approach the chord tone. That's why I like using that definition. Right? Then we finally get into the chord tone. So I'm going to solo and do small chunks. I'm going to start with a bebop approach and do a small line and then give space. Use another bebop approach, do a small line, and give space. And that's exactly how I want you to try it as well. Now, our approaches are moving into chord tones. Don't forget. Here we go. I'll go first. 4 bars. So there's my line. Now I'll try another one. So I'm starting with my approach, right? Now you try. Gotta leave the space too to let your mind really calculate how you're using these. Okay, here's another one. Okay, so I use my approach. I'll do the same one. Whoops, I think I screwed that up. I did, my bad. Okay, your turn. I got my bebop approaches around this key here. So then here. Your turn. And G dominant bebop approaches right to the chord tones of G7. Okay, here we go. I used a lot there, okay? A little demonstration. All right, clearly. All right, awesome. So clearly you see that you need the fundamentals that we initially went over, but then after that, we're starting to add on more tools. We're adding on to things like the blues scale or bebop approaches to our initial chord tones and chord scales, right? All mixed in with musicality, rhythms, good time, good groove. Now remember, rhythms and good groove is always your number one priority. Always. Because you could play the fanciest things. They could be the killingest notes. But if you don't have good time and good groove, it's not going to sound good. So always prioritize your rhythm over your notes. All right? So this takes us to the final thing. I'm going to give us both 8 bars now to trade. You can do whatever you want now. Okay, I'm going to just unleash the gates. But remember, in order to improve, you have to put restrictions on yourself. In order to improve, you have to practice with restrictions. So this whole time, I don't know how much time we've been practicing, about 30 minutes, I've been placing restrictions on the both of us. This helps our creativity. It helps our mind become more creative and force itself to break out of the box of what we're used to doing. It forces us to take away the fact that there's 88 notes here on the keyboard that we can use, right? We really have to rein in our focus by placing restrictions on ourselves. That's how we grow. That's how our musicality grows, our rhythm, our groove, everything. All right, so I'm going to call out the tools I'm using over the 8 bars. See if you can hear them. See if you can. This is also ear training. We're training our ears to hear the different tools as well. So listen very closely as I play it, then you try to mix up your tools as well. Here we go. I'm going to start with blues. Maybe bebop. Motif, right? Blues. Okay, now you. Play anything you want, right? Think simple. Leave space. Let your mind rest, right? It's okay to take space. All right, cool. Space. Motif. Motif. Blues. You? Let's go around twice, okay? So keep going. I'm going to go back to the top. Okay, my turn. Blues, right? You? All right, check it out. Quarter notes. Here we go. Eighth. Quarter notes. right, one more time. I'm going to start to use a little left hand to show you where my left hand fits in the gaps. You ready? Left hand. Left hand, shells. Left hand. You don't have to use your left hand, but I just want to demonstrate. If you want to, go for it. Nice. Now I'm going to hold my left hand and play my right hand. Right? I'm holding my shells. Sharp 5. And you. All right, great job. Can you see that sharp 5? Yes, okay. Could you see all my shells? Yeah, I guess you can see the bottom half of my shells. But anyway, clearly you can see through this entire lesson how we start to layer on effects, tools, musicality to build the solo in our improvisation development so that it really starts to take on life. It starts to take on feeling, interest, right? And then after we just continue, putting all these spices into the pot and stirring them around, adding our left hand a little bit, adding swing, adding some other textures, some other tools, everything starts to come out. And then that's what really creates what's on the album. But we have to start here. We have to really go through the progression. And everything I just put in here in this 38 minutes, this really takes months, right? Each tool has to be worked on separately and really ironed out before you move on to the next thing, because you want full control of it. You want flexibility. You want to be able to really wield the tool over any tune however you want. And when you can start to do that and combine that with other tools, again, that's when the magic starts to happen. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Please use this play along as much as you want to practice. There's so much good stuff in here. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in. I hope today's episode helped bring you some clarity or even inspiration for your playing. If you want a clear path to move forward based on your personal jazz goals, I put together a free resource called the Jazz Piano School Flowchart. It maps out the 3 most common goals jazz pianists pursue: how to play in a band, comping, solo piano, and improvisation. And it shows you exactly what to work on to get there. You can grab it now for free by going to jazzpianoschool.com/flowchart, or just click the link in the show notes. I'll catch you in the next episode, and as always, happy practicing.